Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to... Don't know if this is going to be a Let's Talk, probably not, although it very much follows the format of Let's Talk. But, essentially, ladies and gentlemen, I just completed Borderlands 3. These are my ending thoughts for anyone who wants to talk about the ending of the game. So this is not a video if you have not beaten the game, but this is also going to be delayed until I upload the previous videos that I made, so it should have given most people that are not going to go the Steam route enough time to have beaten it. Anyways, just for some context, by the way, I no-lifed this game hard. I spent, well, it got released early, so I played like 2 hours on Thursday, but then Friday I woke up at 7 a.m. and played all the way till like 10, and it's funny because I just seen a meme or a story where like people were saying, oh my god, this kid plays for 6 hours a day, video games, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. I did the same thing Saturday, and I wrapped it up on Sunday. And I'm actually shocked. I did almost all of the side quests whenever I seen them. I probably missed like 4 or 5, but I got all the way up to 43, level 43. From my understanding, I thought it took you like, what do you call it? Borderlands was one of those games where you almost had to play New Game Plus in order to be eligible to get to level 50. And then the level cap gets increased, of course, with new DLC, but that's neither here nor there. Let us talk about the ending first, before we start talking the whole game, because that's what's fresh in my mind. It's been a day since I've experienced it. It is Monday. I finished it Sunday. Sorry, I hit the mic as well. Also, I have a little bit of a cold, but I was surprised, because I didn't, well, first of all, okay, well, I'm sorry guys, I can't just talk about the ending. My brain jumps all over the place. So one of the things that let's talk about just the story in general. How about that? We'll be bouncing off some certain things. So one of the things that's evidently clear to me is that there are some like weird plot holes in terms of the previous game. And I believe that the Borderlands 2 was written by a certain person, and the Borderlands 3 I don't think was written by that same person. So I can see how there's some complications there. Anyways, one of the things that's never talked about at all, at least from my knowledge right now, is the end of Borderlands 2 and the ending of the pre-sequel. We encounter this Iridian being, like alien, that straight up talks to Lilith and Maya and everybody. But that is just vetoed. They have not talked about that throughout the entire playthrough of the game, and all those things, so don't know what that's about. Hopefully they'll address that. The other big gripe that I have, and it kind of makes sense if you think about the like kind of, where is this character? Where is my favorite character? Where is Gage? Where is Krieg? Where are all these people? Krieg has some audio tapes, but where is Gage? Well, apparently their whole mindset when it comes to the game is hopefully they're going to be able to add on to it. And if they add on to it, then that means they could introduce certain characters. And that to me makes so much more sense. So when instead of just having some sort of random DLC that's like, hey, we brought this brand new character in, he's kind of wacky, you know, then you gotta kind of introduce your audience to a brand new NPC. Whereas in the previous games you have just a boatload of NPCs that people have already kind of have some sort of attachment to. So it would make a lot more sense that if they were going to do this big content push, they would have the person at center stage, someone that we're familiar with, such as Krieg, Gage, Axton, Salvador, anyone like that. Now, I have 2 big criticisms for the story. And first of all, just to like have you guys understand where I'm at, I loved the game. I actually really enjoyed the story. Like I finished the story and I was like, okay, it's kind of just a lot to take in. But okay. And then I sat with it for longer and I was like, I'm still excited. I still enjoyed immensely what I played, but I still have 2 big problems. Not problems, just things I didn't really enjoy. One of the things that is so evident, and it's so annoying as well, the narrative seems weird. The power narrative seems incredibly strange. Like, fucking incredibly strange. So what I mean by that is, we're playing through the game, and there's often times whenever we see any sort of big plot development, we just happen to not be there. Like, once, sure. Twice? You think we'd be getting realize that we should stay on top of our allies. Oh, it happened 3 times. Okay. Well, are we just an idiot? Like, what is happening? It is super fucking stupid, the context in which these are happening. It's literally like they had like point A, point B, and then they just said, fuck it. Sorry. And then they said, just fuck it. Well, whatever can make it connect. So that's a bit frustrating. Like, again, the fact that we keep leaving our allies to go into a vault and why they can't come with us and just hang out in the fucking vault and then leave. Like, you could be at the entrance. I couldn't hear you and you'd be fine. Anyways, so that's really frustrating. And again, even at the ending, when the big bad like beats the shit out of Lilith, or when we kill the brother, the Calypso twin brother, it just takes us out of the cutscene, like we don't even exist. And I'm like, what the fuck? Was it that hard to just animate some dopey looking fucking Vault Hunter sitting there like, oh my god, what's happening? And then at the ending, weirdly Lilith sends you by yourself to go take down the Calypso, but it's like, but I was here the whole time. Like, even in this last segment, I was here. You didn't, like, drop a wall. Like, it doesn't even make sense. So that's silly. That's, like, narrative things that are just there to kind of piece together the narrative. So yeah, I hated that. Specifically, I hated the Calypso's just weirdness for power. Like, the fact that, again, you discover a vault, and then, oh, look at this. The Calypso's found an ability that allows them to yoink a person without any explanation. Just they can fucking yoink this person, and they're gone now. Oh, why wouldn't you do that all the time? You've introduced a power without representing, like, its limitation in the slightest. It's ridiculous. Also, I don't know, man. There's so many things where I'm like, the story is one of those things where if you think about it, it just doesn't make sense. And Borderlands games have always kind of existed in this plane of like, just try to have fun and just forget about the rest. It's insanity, it's carnage, just push through it and have a good time, which you definitely feel in this game. But even those things didn't exist, at least to me, in that high regard in the Borderlands 2. The only thing that kind of existed is why the hell did Handsome Jack let you use Hyperion New Use stations? You're not letting this person die. Then again, you could argue that it was like, Handsome Jack is the head of the company, but he can't control everything, so he probably couldn't section off use by a certain person, because that could offer a whole bunch of legal things. Who knows? Anyways, I had one other complaint. Shit. I had this and this. Oh, right, that's one thing. That was my other criticism. Is that compared to Borderlands 2, the Calypso twins are barely like Jack. And Handsome Jack, to me, is one of the most iconic villains, up there with Voss. Like, way better than Voss, to be honest. Voss was fucking in a quarter of a game. He just had a cool line that everyone remembered. Anyways, yeah, just Handsome Jack is one of those just weird, like, lovable villains that, and you kind of you understand to a certain degree his pride, his whatever, right? His, like, evil nature. Where the Calypso twins very much just feel like, oh, it's been 10 minutes, time for me to throw my god complex at you again. And at least that was my favorite thing about Handsome Jack, is there was moments of reality that hit him, where he's just like, can you just fucking die? Like, I don't know what, like, and he starts getting freaked out. Like, he's like, I can't beat you. I keep throwing army after army, and you just keep coming. And eventually he just gets towards the end, like around the 80% mark, he starts panicking, and then towards the very, very end, he just goes full bore crazy. He's like, I'm gonna summon a god and kill you, which makes sense at that point, because he's summoning a god. Now, with that being said, there are some story things I thought were incredibly neat. I did see them somewhat coming, but then again, I'm just kind of that asshole who always spoils the ending of movies by saying them out loud, because I'm seeing certain dots be connected. But I seen that the first Vault Hunter was the father of the Calypso twins. I actually said that in a video before I even beat the game, but I do like the way they kind of explained his backstory. Like, that was a very cool way of introducing a character, showing him have multi layers, like him empathizing you with the fact that he tried to be a good father, he isolated his children, and then he got bit back by that. He talked about how he had this burning love, and still to that day had this immense love for his wife. And in all these layers. So they did really, like, the person who came up with certain characters' representations for like expressing themselves did a fucking amazing job. But then the person that connected all the dots to make stuff happen didn't really do the greatest job. And also the people who made the Calypso twins, they very much just felt like rudimentary evil villains, you know? Like, not like Handsome Jack. Handsome Jack was this suave, charming, goofy, like just having a fucking blast kind of CEO. And then you have these two just childish assholes who don't make any sense, and they're just like evil for the sake of being evil. Like, at least Handsome Jack, they explained like why he was so pissed, and moments of his ferocity and his like kind of twisted sarcasm playing into the real world, like how he's talking about how he's scooping a person's eyeballs out with a spoon and laughing like crazy. Whereas the Calypso twins are just like, let's kill some stuff. I'm great. This is the best thing for me right now. Ha! God power, and that's it. And it's like, this seems super less creative and fun than anything. But anyways, yeah, those are my two kind of gripes of the game, is that I didn't really feel like narratively it made sense. In terms of like the weird power structure, it almost always felt like the story was just like, oh, well, we need to get Tannis over there, so fuck it, I guess the Calypso twins have a power to teleport anyone at random now. Go team. Okay. Any limitation that you're gonna implement with that? No? Okay. Well, shit. All right. And of course, I thought comparatively to Handsome Jack, the twins were not even close to the same as villain-wise. But with that being said, I don't mean to shit all over this story. I did actually really enjoy it. Like, as much as I have those problems where narratively wise, I was like, what the hell? You're introducing this concept and making it really weird. Then again, that happens a lot in Borderlands, but even still. And then again, it was of course the Handsome Jack thing. But generally, I love the story. I enjoyed it the entire way through, and that's typically what Borderlands is. It's a very enjoyable experience. Does it make sense? No. Can it be a little bit much sometimes? Yes. Can it also just be nonsense? Also yes, but it's never, at least not to me, a good time, and time well spent, weirdly enough. And yeah, every side quest was enjoyable, fun. It kept my reward systems banging around in my head. I really liked the addition of a lot of the new characters. I like the addition of new characters having more spotlight time and being able to go into their character types. I would have preferred if they would have like give more love to iconic characters like Tiny Tina. She's only in there for like a little bit. And yeah, those were the only things where I was just like, I could do with more of some of that, you know, but you kind of left me behind. Oh, and that's another thing. It very much feels like the story in the game is very scattered, because like it seemed like they had 3 people working on the story, and one person got his wish, but the other people still built their wish, kind of, you know. So what I'm referring to is, of course, in the game, and this is I'm so excited. We got to hear Krieg. He was my favorite character in the game. He beat out Zero, even though I love Zero, but Krieg was my boy. I love the idea of like this berserker, but having this like voice of good in him. And anyways, in Borderlands 2, there's a bunch of audio logs of what happened to Krieg after the fact. And essentially, Krieg went to this dystopian, like, what do you call it? This kind of like dead factory kind of place for isolation. And in his isolation, he was trying to get his good voice, his calm, serenity kind of voice, to bleed out. And he achieved this. But he never got the loud voice to just completely shut up. So he isolated himself to a cave and continues to do this throughout many years, supposedly. But one of the things he keeps saying in all of these audio logs is that he's doing this for her. He's doing this for a certain someone. Now, if anyone's played the previous games or realized the source material for trailers of Krieg, you know that he loves, and I mean loves, Maya. And of course, it's just really weird that Maya supposedly gets Thanos snapped out of existence. She dies, supposedly. Now, I don't think she's dead, although maybe she's dead, because the one lady does attain her siren powers, which to me, well, no, I don't know. Because it's either that Maya knows the future, like back to front, which I don't think is the case, that Maya was always planning on giving the girl her powers, and do you really need to die in order for your siren powers to be passed on? Because my theory is that this could all just be a mess. Just like the fact that Krieg, they haven't introduced Krieg and his infatuation with Maya and are dying. Like, I thought maybe they could make it all come full circle, and at the end, right as you finish the boss fight to kill the brother, Calypso twin brother, Krieg would come out of nowhere and just fucking ravage this fucking kid and just beat the shit out of him because he took the only person that he made him feel not crazy. But they didn't do that. So the only thing that I could think of, and again, hearing the developers talk about it, it seems like that could be a DLC thing. Like maybe Krieg is now fighting to go try to find out how to get Maya back. Because we only see Maya get kind of dusted, but not gone completely. It feels that way, at least. And I don't know, that could have a really nice ending with like Krieg, the voice in his head, going into some sort of, I don't know, alien conscious, the Force type shit. I don't know. But yeah, I could definitely see that there's going to be a DLC with Krieg, and hopefully that's tied with Maya. But I'm also kind of sad because that would be something that I think so many of the fans would have loved to see, like Krieg. Even if it was something as simple as, yeah, Maya gets snapped or dies, and then Krieg, this berserker out of nowhere, comes and just wrecks. And like maybe the Calypso brothers in a hideout, and you're like plotting to go beat it, and you start your attack, and then you walk into just a slaughter fest of everything's dead and just smashed into the ground, and then the Krieg's just over top of this dude beating the shit out of him, and then maybe you even have to kill Krieg because the good part that kept him on the sanity, so to speak, is now gone because the only reason it stayed around was for Maya. Something like that would have been really nice as a payoff to the series or to these characters that a lot of us, I think, really, really love. But no, that didn't happen. And again, might have something happen within DLC. I really, really hope they do, because right now it's just a really weird blip on the map where like Krieg is getting really close to like getting his sanity down pat, and then Maya dies, which is his whole reason for his sanity being there. And again, this maybe makes sense if they're planning on bringing it back through a DLC, showing that like, hey, Krieg and Maya, these kind of like side story things. Well, here's the DLC where they are the main story, and Krieg is trying to find a way back to Maya, and maybe even Maya's communicating with Krieg now, helping him move past his insanity. Who knows? And then again, I think that's the whole Krieg arc, is that he's supposed to accept himself, like as the fact that he can't just be the sanity person, he has to also be chaos, because that's just who he is. He's harmony and chaos is essentially the voices in his head. But yeah, no, that to me was something that I felt, just like how the story was so weird. Like they have these elements where these pillars are being built, but then that never comes into play. In fact, one of the pillars fucking dies. Then again, maybe that's because it comes back another way. Who knows? But nevertheless, that's just something I felt like I thought we would have, like, I thought what they would do, and I was completely wrong about this. I thought what they would do was use characters like Axton, Gage, and all those people as like quest delivery people, just to like have you interact with them the same way that they did in Borderlands 2, but no. But then again, I think that's because they want to use these kind of characters, these heartthrob characters that we have an attachment to push DLC. Because you may have been like, I never really played Maya, so I don't really have a great affection for that. I did play a shit ton of Salvador, and just the Unkempt Herald's going to nuts, so maybe they're going to introduce a DLC later down the line where they're like, hey, look who's leading the charge against Doll or something, some sort of fucking person, a company, and you're like, oh fuck, that was my boy, let me go back and play that. I could see how they could maybe do stuff like that. But even still, the ending of the game, let's talk about that. So first of all, I'm just sad in general that Maya died, and I'm also immensely happy that Zero didn't do us dirty, because I was really hoping that they weren't going to do something like that. In fact, at the end of the mission where Zero and what's his name, Reese, are just hanging out, he's like, thanks for saving my bro Reese, and it's like, oh, it's awesome. Anyways, the other thing though is, what was the other story things that happened that were like worth talking about? Oh right, we actually killed Hammerlock's sister, which I didn't think we could actually do, but we straight up just murder her, which thank God, because I was really worried they were gonna do that like fairy tale bullshit of being like, but maybe she can be forgiven, and I'm like, she is a monster, like awful monster, like die 3,000 times kind of monster kind of shit. So I'm happy that they didn't go that way, and if we just blitz her down and kill her. Love that. But let us talk about the ending now. Again, it's weird. I started the video being like, let's talk about the very end, and then we stopped and talked about everything else, and now we're talking about the end. Listen, also, look at the sitting, look at that distraction, bang. Okay, so I think the ending of the game very much to me gives credence to certain Maya not being dead as well, because if Lilith was dead, they would just be like, well, she fucking died. But in every regard, at the ending, they're like, maybe Lilith knew she would eventually go away or something, right? And all these things. Also, again, with certain characters like the girl herself, the one that she puts kind of in charge of Sanctuary, she's like, hey, I sometimes feel like Lilith is never mind, and then like she's trying to say that she feels like she's alive, which makes sense, because they never confirmed that she would die, and she is the goddamn Firehawk. So it makes sense that she can do all these crazy things. Also, man, I really, really hope, and that's one of the biggest sad things to me. Okay, well, first of all, sorry. Okay, I got off track, but I want to talk about something else. Yeah, essentially the ending, I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was good. It was solid. It was enough, I guess I should say. Especially considering, again, because they entered it into like this thing of like, is Lilith dead? Question mark. I definitely could see them. Then maybe, because there's supposed to be 4 big DLCs and a bunch of mini ones in between, in the span of a year. So I could see them doing like DLC 1. Maybe they don't really touch Lilith's story at all. DLC 2, okay, well maybe there's like 1 or 2 audio logs that talk about a person seeing a fire image in their head telling them to go somewhere and they don't know what's happening. And then maybe episode 3, they start hinting a little bit more at there being this other thing. And then maybe episode 4, the final DLC, similar to Destiny, doing the whole Taken King thing. Maybe then they introduce Lilith again, and that's the story of like reclaiming our leader. And that to me would actually be worthy, because like that to me would be a solid ending DLC, like something big that you got to do for the last hurrah to pull back your commander so that you can go hunt even more vaults, you know. That to me I think could be way good. And then of course they could just go beyond that, you know. Now that you have Lilith back in the whole 9 yards, you just go and build beyond that. I could see them doing something like that. Anyways, so I like the way the game ended, because of, I think the whole game was built on the hope, and I think I'd be shocked if it didn't get this way or go this way. The hope that this game is Gearbox's game that they want to support for a long time, meaning they want to upload consistent DLC with it, and it not just be a random, fuck, I guess we'll make a DLC about Tor yelling a bunch, which is great, and I'm sure we'll have that, but I'm sure they wanted these, like, this overarching theme of like, okay, well, you know how Lilith wasn't there at the end of the campaign? Well, here's a whole DLC of you getting her back. And then that pulls people in because they want to know what happened, right? Stuff like that. I think I could see the whole narrative weirdness of certain things not being explained, I think are entirely hooked to DLC later down the line. That's just me, though. The one thing I want to quickly say that I think it's a part of me that I really dislike with the 2 baddies, the 2 main villains. I really like the aesthetics of both of them. And I really like the powers of both of them. Well, I don't really like the powers of the brother. I really love the powers of the Calypso Queen, whatever her name is. I like her aesthetic. She's got scars on her face. She's got this weird hairstyle. She looks badass as hell. She has the power of like blood, like draining people of their power, and that. Yeah, and it sucks because I really was hoping, honestly, for some sort of ending that maybe gave credence to them being a playable character in some way, because yeah, I think her aesthetic, all of that shit, I would just love to play. And yeah, it breaks my heart that we won't be able to mess around with like blood tethering or draining powers and all these things, like a siren that isn't based on like the glory of elements, like corrosive, slag, or weird hand powers, but instead blood, carnage, and draining the life force of someone and beating them to shit. That seems way more my speed, but doesn't look like we're quite there, unfortunately. And also the brother's aesthetic, how he has his giant robot hands, and he's just frankly giant. He's just a big dude in general. I just think that could offer a cool like melee perspective on characters as well. So that was one of the things I hated, was the fact that they actually made their powers pretty awesome. Like Handsome Jack, I was never like, oh, I want to play them. Although I did in the pre-sequel, and it was a bit of fun. But no, I with these new characters, I was like, damn it, I really want to play this Calypso Queen whatever. And I don't know how, if there's any way. Well, I mean, they kind of introduced parallel worlds through Mayhem, so I don't know. Maybe it's a lot. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the rest of your day. Frankly enough, again, this was mostly us just talking about the story. As of gameplay, I think you guys have heard me talk about it enough. I love the gameplay in Borderlands. It keeps me hooked. It's personally, I know a lot of people have opinions on games that they just think feel really good, and I think a lot of people are correct in those games. But to me, Borderlands has always been one of those games that just feels wonderful, especially the improvements that they made to Borderlands 3. Like, to me, it beats Destiny. Just melting, having certain abilities stack on top of each other, and you just blitzing down things. You getting a certain gun that can literally just like detonate a bunch of little Torg explosives on them, and then you reload, and then just pop. everything dies, so that's tagged. All of these things to me just reward that thing in my brain. Although I do love getting a headshot in Destiny, I love getting a headshot in Borderlands and then just seeing their upper body just eviscerate, completely gone, and you just feel like, oh, I'm a monster. Personally, that's what I really like, and it just feels crazy. I also like the humor. I like the map and the worlds. That's one thing that I think, again, there were certain things in the narrative and just story that were like A grade, like I haven't seen in most other games, and holy shit, the map design and all that stuff. And usually Bungie has like a hard lock on that for me, for having like beautiful skyboxes and the whole 9 yards in terms of level layout. But nah, man, for me at least, Borderlands 3 takes the cake on that. Yeah, it just looks beautiful. Like there's when you're fighting a guardian and he's a skyscraper, or when you're moving through this like old temple and the lights just bounce off of each other, these weird symmetrical but not symmetrical shapes are everywhere, and these beasts are flying at you and you're getting headshots and things are flying around you, and it just feels, it gives you that atmosphere entirely. I just really like that. It's my beat for sure. But yeah, certain narrative things are just A grade, and then other story stuff not so much. I'm sorry, most of this video is me just ranting about the things I didn't like, but overall, this game is amazing to me. Like, I would highly suggest this game for those people who only want to play on Steam. 100%, I get it. I would suggest playing it whenever you can. If you want to do the Steam, go ahead, but just play it. It's a blast and a half, and I think by the time you get to it, you'll have a DLC ready for you to go play as well, which is awesome to have even more content. Because right now I'm like, I can't wait to farm legendaries, but what happens when that's gone? I'm going to be a little lost. Now I'll just play more characters. I want to play Moe so badly, but I do love our Flak. I love Flak. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you enjoy the game as well, as much as I am at least, because there's more content coming. Because God, boy howdy, am I just thoroughly enjoying it, as you may have picked up on in this video. Thank you kindly. Subscribe button above me, as well as 2 videos to my right. Thank you again, and goodbye.